Chosen one, please stop what you are doing and focus fully on what I am about to say. This is because exactly 72 hours ago, something happened without you even realizing it. You were so exhausted, overwhelmed, and drained of energy that you did not even have the mental capacity to recognize that it was a test. However, it was a final evaluation and a final test, the ultimate examination to determine whether a soul is ready to possess true spiritual authority or must return to the preparation stage. And there is a fact you must know. You passed. You did not barely pass, nor did you make it by a hair's breadth. You passed by proving, with undeniable certainty, that your character has been transformed so wonderfully that the spiritual realm had to immediately convene the so-called Council of Ascension mentioned in ancient texts. And tonight, precisely at 3:33 a.m., something will happen on a level that cannot be seen with the physical eyes but can clearly be felt by your souls. Heaven will officially appoint you. It is not symbolic or metaphorical, but something that actually happens literally in the invisible realm where spiritual authority is conferred. You will receive permission to operate at the level you have been training at your entire life without even realizing it. Now, before you think that your life will suddenly become easier because of this, or before you imagine that this ascension means everything will go smoothly, please pause that thought for a moment. What is happening tonight is not a reward for good deeds. It is an acknowledgement that you have finally become trustworthy enough to be entrusted with greater responsibility. And greater responsibility always comes with greater challenges. But here is the difference. From tonight on, you will face those challenges with access to spiritual resources you did not have before. Wisdom received instantly, discernment that operates automatically, unwavering peace, and authority that requires no need to put yourself forward. That is exactly what happens when heaven appoints someone. It means not ability, not ease, not authority, not rest, not readiness. Let me tell you what that trial was 3 days ago. This is because you need to understand what you actually went through between approximately 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Something happened that pushed you beyond a certain point. Perhaps the conversation went in a completely wrong direction. It might have been a situation where you were forced to bring up all the past wounds you thought had healed. It might have been a moment of loneliness so deep that you could no longer even cry. You likely just sat there in a dazed silence. It might have been an unexpected betrayal that your mind simply could not accept. It might have been literally deep fatigue, leaving you with no energy to think, forcing you to react solely on pure instinct. Whatever it was specifically, it drove you into a situation where you acted unconsciously. You were too exhausted to accomplish anything, too hurt to pretend to be okay, and too depleted to calculate the right response. You simply existed there, with the energy to be anything other than your deepest essence. And in that moment when no one was watching, a moment no one would have known even if you had made a different choice, despite every legitimate reason in the world to react with anger, revenge, selfishness, cruelty, and compromise, you did not. When you were so exhausted that you could not even control yourself, the automatic response that welled up from your deepest essence was truthfulness. When someone attacked you with words, your instinct may have been to remain silent rather than strike back. You may have simply been unable to use information that could have benefited you, even though you had obtained it by sacrificing others. You may have been given the opportunity to take revenge on the person who hurt you, but something inside you may have told you not to. When faced with a choice between your own comfort and the well-being of others, you may have chosen their well-being without a second thought. You may have faced a temptation unknown to anyone alone, yet nevertheless left the place. The specific circumstances do not matter. What matters is this: your goodness is no longer an action you perform. It is you. Your truthfulness is no longer a conscious choice made only when you have the energy. That is your default setting and your automatic operating system. And, chosen one, that is exactly the image heaven has been waiting to see. For this is the truth. Religious environments do not teach this. The spiritual world is not interested in your theology. It does not care how many scriptures you have memorized. It does not consider it important how many spiritual books you have read, or how much time you have spent in prayer or meditation. The only thing the spiritual world cares about is this one question: who are you when you do not even have the strength to become any being other than your true self? Who are you when you lack the strength to even support your mask, and it is stripped away? Who are you when no one is watching and no one knows what you have chosen? That is the only question that matters, because that is the only one that reveals whether your transformation is real or merely postponed. And 3 days ago, at that moment of complete exhaustion, you answered that question. And because the answer was so clear, undeniable, and definitively proven, the spiritual observatory, the place where missionary angels monitor human growth, cheered as if it were about to burst. It was not applause. That is the human way. It was a reaction that could only be explained as acknowledgement. It is the kind of acknowledgement that occurs when someone finally becomes the being they were originally meant to be. When potential becomes reality, when preparation is fully complete, and when training is mastered. Now, I will explain what will happen at 3:33 a.m. today, and why that specific time is important. First, you must understand that time in the spiritual world does not operate in the same way as physical reality. However, there are specific moments when the veil between dimensions thins. These are moments when spiritual activity can penetrate physical reality more easily and receive messages with less interference. And 3:33 a.m. is one such moment. The reason is as follows. Between 3 a.m. and 3 a.m., human consciousness exhibits its lowest level of activity. Most people are in a deep sleep. The collective noise of the mind that usually fills the spiritual atmosphere falls silent. And within that stillness, within that silence, the spiritual world can operate with precision. However, 3:33 in particular holds additional significance in sacred mathematics. This is not superstition, but a pattern recognition that appears across all traditions of wisdom. The number 3 represents divine perfection. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, birth, life, death, beginning, middle, end, future, mind, body, soul. It is the number of wholeness. And when one sees 3:33, which is repeated 3 times, it is a sign of the completion of completion and the addition of completion upon completion. It means that one cycle has ended, one stage has been graduated from, and one has passed through 4 times. That is why historically, major spiritual events often include variations of the number 3. Jesus was in the tomb for 3 days. Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 4 days. The people of Israel traveled for 3 days before Passover. It is a pattern. And tonight at 3:33 a.m., your pattern will be completed. Here is what will actually happen. While your consciousness is asleep, your soul will be led to the heavenly court described in ancient texts. Physically, your body will still be in bed, but dimensionally and spiritually, your soul will stand in a space where spiritual authority is granted, and you will be given 3 specific powers. These are not permits that you can use at will, because these are spiritual abilities activated based on your character. You had to pass that test first. The universe does not give weapons to those who are likely to misuse them. It grants power only to those who have proven that they will not abuse them. The first power is accelerated wisdom. This is the ability to understand situations, people, and environments at a level that transcends intellectual analysis. You will begin to know things without a logical reason. You will sense what is happening beneath the surface of conversations. You will feel that something is wrong before a reason is explained. You will understand people's true motives even without them telling you. This is not a superpower. It is discernment elevated to the level where your spirit reads spiritual activity, just as your eyes read physical activity. And it feels so natural that you will not even realize it is supernatural. You will simply come to know it, and later, when it is proven true, you will marvel at how you knew. That is how you realize this authority has been activated. The second authority is unwavering peace. This is not happiness. Happiness depends on the environment, but this is peace that exists regardless of the environment. You will feel calm even while walking through a storm. You will feel steadfast even on the side of attack. You will feel centered even when facing chaos. This is not because nothing affects you, but because you are rooted deeper than your environment. People will notice it. They will ask you how you can maintain such composure. And you will not be able to give them an explanation that satisfies them. This is because the peace you possess does not come from any skill or discipline you can teach. It stems from who you have become. It originates from having passed through so many flames that you no longer fear the heat. The third authority is spiritual authority. This is the most difficult part to explain. This is because it is not about controlling someone or something. It is about your very existence carrying weight. When you speak, people listen. When you remain silent, people respect it. When you set boundaries, they are maintained. When you make decisions, everything falls into place. This is not because you force something, but because you have become a trustworthy person to whom that level of influence can be entrusted. The reason the universe tests people before granting this authority is that it is dangerous in the hands of the wrong person. However, it is different if it falls into the right hand, a hand purified through suffering and proven through testing. This authority becomes a tool for blessing, not control, a tool for liberation, not manipulation, and a tool for ascension, not domination. There are no manuals for these 3 permissions. They do not come with user guides. They simply activate naturally. And starting tomorrow morning, you will know they have been activated through 3 specific signs that you will experience. The first sign, an eerily clear mind. You will wake up and you will feel that your mind is far sharper than it has been in the past few years, or perhaps even in your entire life. The fog that clouded your thoughts, the confusion that clouded your decisions, and the overwhelming feeling that made everything feel complicated will not merely diminish, but disappear completely. In their place will be a clarity deep enough to instantly see through situations. You will understand problems that used to take weeks to handle in just a few minutes. You will now make decisions with confidence that used to paralyze you. This is not because you suddenly have all the answers, but because you have suddenly become able to see what is important and what is not. And what is important becomes clear. If you are watching this video and realize that something within you changed 3 days ago, I ask that you type 777 in the comments, even if you cannot pinpoint exactly what it is. Please do this not for luck or superstition, but as a spiritual sign. This is because frequency amplification occurs in the spiritual world when the chosen ones recognize one another and witness each other's transformation. The 77 you leave is not just for you. It is for all others who need the assurance that they are not strange, that something has truly changed, and that their senses of change are accurate. The second sign is emotional stability that surprises you. You will notice that things that used to provoke you in the past no longer do. People who used to suck your path will not be able to approach you in the same way as before. Situations that used to overwhelm you will now feel manageable. And this is not because you are suppressing your emotions, nor is it because your senses have become dulled. It is because your emotional center has been readjusted. You have gone through so much that you have developed emotional muscles that most people never build in a lifetime. You can feel deeply without being dominated by those emotions. You can care without exhausting yourself. You can love without losing yourself. And people will notice this sense of stability. They will try to test it. In fact, they will unconsciously try to elicit your old reactions. And when you do not show such reactions, when you respond calmly in situations where you would have reacted with confusion in the past, they will become confused. Some will respect that. Others will feel threatened by it. In this way, you will come to know who is with you in your next chapter and who is not. The third sign, synchronicity too perfect to be called a coincidence. Starting tomorrow, or perhaps the day after, you will begin to notice that life is tuning in your favor in an inexplicable way. When you need something, it appears. When you think of someone, they reach out to you. If a question arises, the answer will appear in the most unexpected way. When you hit an obstacle, the very resources you need will be given to you. This is not the law of visualization. This is what happens when you have completed a spiritual level. Because you have now become trustworthy enough to take on that level of support, the universe begins to reorganize the reality surrounding you differently. In the past, when your character was still being tested, the universe could not give you too much so easily because you were not prepared to manage it properly. But now, you have proven that you will not abuse the blessings. You will not blindly trust the supply given to you. Since you will not misuse the escort, the floodgates of blessing can open without destroying you. Now, I must warn you about something that can ruin everything you have just gained. It is subtle. It is insidious. It seeps in so quietly that most people do not notice it until it destroys them. It is spiritual pride. When you wake up tomorrow morning and feel that clear mind, notice that emotional stability and experience perfect synchronicity a temptation, a whisper, or a thought will arise. And it will sound like this: I finally did it. I am better than those people who are still struggling. I am special. I am chosen. I am on a completely different level from the confusion ordinary people experience. If you feed that thought, nurture that pride, and let it take root in your heart, you will lose everything you have just received. Not immediately, but gradually. That clear mind will become foggy. That emotional stability will crack. Those synchronicities will cease too, because the universe trusts power only in those who maintain humility. The moment you begin to use your rise to look down on others is the very moment you begin to fall. So when such thoughts arise, this is what you must do. And such thoughts will surely come. Remember that 3 years ago, you were the very one struggling. Remember that exactly 5 years ago, you were lost. Remember that season when you were hurt, in despair, and at a loss as to how to get through it? Remember all the people who showed you grace even though you were undeserving. Remember all the people who were patient when you were difficult. Remember all the people who believed in you when you had no reason to believe in yourself. And let those memories keep you humble. Not false humility. Not pretending to be powerless, but true humility that knows your strength was earned at a great cost. And that cost creates compassion, not contempt, toward others who are still paying that cost. The crown you receive tonight is not a trophy. It is a tool. It is not an admission that you are better than anyone else. It is an admission that you can be entrusted with greater responsibility, and responsibility always demands humility. The moment you think the crown makes you superior is the very moment you prove that you are not yet ready to wear it. So wear the crown with gratitude. Wear it with awareness. Write with the understanding that much is required of those to whom much has been received. Your elevation is not for your own ego. Your elevation is for your mission. And your mission is to be a light in darkness, a tranquility in chaotic spaces, and a steadfast presence when everything around you is shaken. Now, I will tell you who can take your crown away after you receive it tonight. It is not God. God is not one who gives and takes away based on a whim or a mistake, nor is it the devil. The devil has no authority over what is bestowed by heaven. It is not the environment either. External circumstances cannot strip away inner authority. The only person who can take your crown away is yourself. And it can only happen through one method. It is choosing to compromise your truthfulness for personal gain, intentionally and consciously, even while knowing it is wrong. It is not a coincidence. It is not due to momentary weakness or imperfection. It is a calculated betrayal of your character. It is choosing to use spiritual authority to manipulate others and choosing to use discernment to control people. It is choosing to use your peace of mind as a weapon to make others feel inferior. When you misuse the gifts you have received, when you weaponize blessings, when you turn tools meant for building into weapons meant for destruction, then you will lose your crown. This is not as punishment, but as protection. This is because a fallen person with spiritual authority is more dangerous than someone with no authority at all. That is why the test was so strict. That is why you had to pass the level 3 assessment. It is an assessment that tests your character when you have absolutely no energy to accomplish anything. The universe needed to know if your default setting was still truthful, even when you were in your worst state, at your weakest, and at your most vulnerable, and you proved that 3 days ago. So as you receive these authorities tonight, heaven knows that you are safe when they are with you. Heaven knows that you will not abuse them. Heaven knows that even when you are weary, hurt, and overwhelmed, your automatic reaction will still be right character. However, there is something you must understand about maintaining it after you have received the crown. This is not about becoming perfect. You will still make mistakes. You will still have hard days. You will still feel inadequate at times. That is being human. What matters is your trajectory. Are you moving toward more truthfulness? Or the opposite? More humility? More pride? More service? More selfishness? As long as your trajectory is pointing upward, as long as you are committed to growth, and as long as you are willing to acknowledge your shortcomings and try to correct your direction, you remain safe with your King. It is not fragile. It does not shatter at the first mistake. However, it reacts to intentional and persistent betrayal of character. Therefore, protect it not with perfection, but with devotion, not with faultlessness, but with faithfulness. Now I will reveal the deeper reason why you have been specially appointed at this very moment in history. It is not merely because you have completed your personal journeys. It is because humanity is entering a period of unprecedented upheaval, and the world needs people who can maintain stability when everything is shaking. Old systems are collapsing. The true faces of institutions people trusted are being exposed. The authorities people relied on are being called into question. And in the midst of that chaos, people will desperately seek something solid to hold on to. It is not information, theory, or promises. It is living proof that it is possible to maintain truthfulness when everything around you is compromising. It is living proof that it is possible to maintain serenity when everything around you is in a state of panic. It is living proof that it is possible to love when everything around you hates one another. You are that proof. It is not because you possess all the answers. It is not because you have never wandered or because you are perfect. This is because your lives prove that change is real, that character can be tempered, and that hope can survive even in hell. And when people see it within you, when they encounter your peace amidst their chaos, when they feel your stability amidst their storms, they will want to know your secret. And your secret is not something that can be explained in words. Your secret is that something that became you while passing through the flames. And the only way to teach it is to become that very being. That is the mission you have been given as the appointed, the chosen. It is not to save everyone, nor to fix everything, nor to have the answers to every question. It is to be living proof that one can pierce through the darkness and come out into the light. That is enough. There is plenty of error. So tonight at 3:33 a.m., when your souls stand before the court of heaven and those 3 authorities are granted, receive them with open hands and a humble heart. When you wake up tomorrow morning and feel the change, when you notice clarity, peace, and synchronicity, remember that these are tools, not trophies. Use them to bless. Use them to build. Use them to love. And watch how the universe responds to someone who possesses power yet wields it humbly. That is the time when miracles become part of everyday life. That is the time when supply never ceases. That is the time when doors you didn't even know existed open. Your trials are over. Your crowns are ready. Your appointment begins tonight. Walk in grace. Serve with power. Look for the light in the darkness. Because that is what the chosen do. Not because they are superior to everyone else, but because they are trustworthy. When most people fall, you are that very person trustworthy. And tonight, the heavens formalize it. If you realize that something has changed within you before autumn, if you didn't even know you were being tested, but sense that you have passed, please leave 777 in the comments right now. That number is not magic. It is a sign, a spiritual milestone, and confirmation between you and heaven that you have heard this message at exactly the right time. And when other chosen ones see your 77, it also confirms their experience. In this way, we recognize one another, not through the words we speak, but through what we have endured and the kind of person we have become as a result. If this message resonates deeply within your heart and you do not want to miss the next part, please press the subscribe button and turn on notifications right now. This is because, as newly appointed chosen ones, you will need guidance, confirmation, and encouragement as the events unfold in your life ahead. And this channel exists for that very purpose, to help you understand the spiritual dynamics you are experiencing so that you do not feel strange about yourself and do not walk alone. Let me mention one more thing. If someone came to mind while listening to this message, someone passing their own final test, or someone exhausted, broken, and acting unconsciously, please share this message with them. This is because they must realize that what they are going through is not selfless suffering. It is the final test, and they may be closer to passing than they think. Your sharing can be the assurance that helps them endure another day. And that day may be all that is needed to prove their character and activate their appointment. Chosen one, your loneliness was not abandonment, it was a test. Your fatigue was not punishment, it was preparation. Your collapse was not destruction, it was change. And tonight, at 3:33 a.m., the heavens confirm what you have already proven. You are ready. Welcome to your coronation. However, before concluding, I must speak of the actual changes you will notice in your daily lives. This is because a spiritual appointment does not affect only your inner world. It also affects how you live in the material world. The first change: people will react to you differently. Some people will be drawn to you for no reason. They will seek your advice, want to be by your side, and feel safe in your presence. These are the people who spiritually recognize the authority you possess. However, others will push you away for no reason. They will feel uncomfortable, avoid you, and make excuses to avoid getting entangled. These are people whose insecurity cannot coexist with your peace. Both of these reactions, attraction and rejection, are confirmation that your frequency has changed. The second change: your patience with certain environments will disappear. Places you could endure in the past will now suck your path in an instant. Conversations you used to participate in will now feel harmful. Because your spiritual sensitivity has increased, low-frequency environments will exhaust you. Therefore, if you feel a place is wrong, leave. If you feel a conversation is harmful, get out of it. This is not being rude. It is obeying your discernment. The third change. Your relationship with time will change. Instead of anxiety, you will feel a sense of urgency, stemming from the realization that time is precious. Tasks that used to take up hours will now feel meaningless. The attention-grabbing things that consumed you will lose their appeal. Your purpose is becoming more deeply activated, and every moment spent on unrelated tasks will feel like time being stolen away. Yes, the fourth change, your connection with the divine, will change. It will no longer feel like an action you perform, but will begin to feel like your very self. You will discover that you are in a ceaseless communion. The line is always open. The connection is always active. You simply need to tune in, and tuning will become natural. The fifth change. Finances and resources will move differently. Supply will appear in unexpected ways. You will notice that you always have exactly what you need when you need it. This is divine grace. The universe often supplies everything you need by bypassing the general system. Now let me address an important question. What if I do not feel the signs tomorrow? Does that mean I failed to pass? Here is what you need to understand. The spiritual world operates according to divine timing, not human expectations. Signs can unfold gradually, appear subtly, or overwhelm you all at once. Be awake so you can notice them when they appear. And sometimes, spiritual ascension is accompanied by increased resistance. The enemy attacks immediately to make you give up what you have just received. So if tomorrow becomes harder, do not interpret it as proof that nothing has changed. Rather, interpret it as proof that something significant has changed. I will also tell you what you should not do. Do not announce your appointment. Do not post it on social media. The spiritual world values secrecy in the early stages of empowerment. Keep this deep in your heart. Share only with those who can understand. Let the change speak through your life before you speak about it. Also, do not try to force the activation of the authority. They operate naturally when needed, not artificially when forced. Trust that wisdom will be there when you need it. Trust that peace will be preserved when it is threatened. Let it happen naturally. And finally, remember this: just because you have been appointed does not mean you will never struggle again. It means you now have access to resources that help you handle trials differently. You still face battle, but you fight with weapons you did not have before. You still walk through valleys, but you walk with guidance you did not have before. The difference is not that there are no difficulties, the difference is that power exists. If this message confirms something you have felt but could not name, please enter 777 in the comments as a declaration acknowledging that the time of trial is over and the appointment has begun. Let your 777 prove to others that change is real, that the trial is over, and that the promotion is truly coming. And if this message has brought you clarity, hope, or conviction, please press the like button. Your participation helps this message reach others who are in the midst of a weary and broken experience. They need to know that they can endure one more day. Your like can help this message find them at the moment they need it most. Please make sure you are subscribed with notifications turned on. What will happen after tonight? You will need continuous guidance and affirmation. This channel exists for that very purpose. It is to guide you through the process of walking within spiritual authority, helping you not to feel strange about yourself and not to walk alone. Chosen one, your loneliness was not abandonment. It was a test. Your fatigue was not punishment. It was preparation. Your breakdown was not destruction. It was transformation. And tonight at 3:33 a.m., heaven confirms what you have already proven. You are ready. Welcome to your coronation.